September 11, 2001. Many are holding memorial services this weekend, and one of those towns is Englewood. And joining us to talk about their ceremony is Mayor Michael Wiles from Englewood. Thanks for joining us today on Tape 10.
How are you, Jennifer?
Good, and I just can't believe that it's been 3 years since the September 11th attacks, and at a time you were down there the day after the attacks on September 12th. Do you remember vividly like it was yesterday?
You never forget an experience like that. I remember on September 11th actually being on television about the whole day with different networks trying to assess what happened and talk about the experiences that I had and felt that I could lend a hand. I came home late that night and my wife said to me, now go down to Ground Zero and get on the bucket brigade and don't come home until you find somebody or something. And I literally went the next day and spent the whole day there. I'm an emergency medical technician, an EMT, and I spent hours upon hours trying to sieve through material and trying to support what were the most extraordinary citizens that I've ever seen. Not only Englewood's bravest fire department were there, but scores of departments, fire departments throughout the country had come forward. But the experience of going down there, Jennifer, was just extraordinary. A surreal experience. As you got closer to the different, to actually Ground Zero itself, those images stay with you. You remember seeing people's desk tchotchkes or gadgets that were on their desks, and that somehow managed to come down intact, but the people perished. And I remember going block by block as I got closer to the actual site and seeing reams of paper. The church where George Washington attended and the place where Congress had actually convened years ago had a whole garden full of Blue Cross Blue Shield forms. Just amazing that people perished again and paper existed. And as you got even closer, you found shoes and all kinds of personal effects, and then the smells and the gases and the color and everything changed. And the determination on that day, the zeal, the resolve, has not really changed significantly in this nation, but those images are not forgotten, never.
Now, obviously you have an office in Manhattan where you practice law, and back then and even today, back when you were there on September 12th, could you picture what the city was like before and how it's changed now even?
I remember the client that I was seeing right before the attack, and the client didn't want to leave my office until we gave them some advice. I'll never forget that story because my EMT radio was going off and there were requests coming from me for different places, and people were trying to communicate with loved ones in the city. And you looked outside and everything looked beautiful, but then you heard and you watched on the television as these insidious people with these extraordinary methods of terrorism, the prowess that they had, the tactical prowess, where they actually had one plane go in and then waited while all of America turned on their television to capture the second plane. That was deliberate. In retrospect, the experience that I had on that day brought me to a point where we'll never be the same. You're constantly trying to reassess your own vulnerability, whether you're driving in Manhattan or whether you're going someplace with your family in New Jersey. Life has changed.
Now, you are holding a 9/11 memorial dedication for the citizens in Englewood. Tell us about this event that's happening this Friday night, actually Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. Tell us about it.
It was important to me fundamentally when I was getting elected to create a site in Englewood where people could go to reflect, or where in years coming people could actually gather. And I felt it would be nice if we actually had a memorial, and thought that we should find something appropriate. And what speaks greater to a legacy of those who passed from our city, we lost 5 citizens, was to actually have a tree dedicated to their memory, and a tree that would flower, a tree that would have a plaque and be in an appropriate venue and site. And I chose the library, approached the library board, and raised $3,000 from local businesses and citizens who helped me in this effort. What we're going to do is have a dedication of the tree where Englewood's bravest and finest and its ambulance corps will join us in a public ceremony. The congressman and many other folk will be joining us as well. And the intent is to have, again, a site dedicated, and we're going to have a photo exhibition then inside the library by one of the more famed photographers, a gentleman by the name of David Margolis, who was given unfettered access to Ground Zero in the year that followed the attack. And he has extraordinary pictures that I think people should come and see.
Mayor, we're just going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more about the 3rd anniversary of the September 11th attack. Stay tuned for more.